What's it time for? Finding balance with Facey
And
Coley.
Coley.
All
There
right,
we go.
episode 5.
Oh man, this is the bicentennial. No, it's not. Not at all, guys. But guess what? We're gonna keep it going because
Oh,
we
we
just
are.
like hanging out.
We do. That's the purpose.
That is what we do with our lives.
And we're
Because,
hoping that by us finding balance in our own lives, that maybe we can share it with other people.
but we've got to figure out
Mm.
how to find our own balance.
That's right. Yeah, that's
So
true.
are we gonna get that
The last episode
from this podcast? That's what I'm curious
Yeah.
about. So what have you learned since the last?
I know. So the last episode, I found out a lot about myself, right?
Yeah,
Like my
I want to
blind
hear
spots.
this. Yeah.
We kind of focused a lot on me last time, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, my self-awareness is sometimes not the best,
Yeah.
which I did. I think I kind of knew that already,
Yeah. You should.
but I need to be reminded.
Mm-hmm.
My own life balance is probably not necessarily where it needs to be, but that's the purpose, right? Of like self-discovery is you are constantly trying to figure out what you can, for me, improve
Yeah.
upon.
Okay. So
Hmm.
this episode, I kind of thought, because this was going to be my choice,
That's
because
right.
you had the last one,
I did.
and I love how you just were facing up to your own self-awareness.
Got to.
Me, that'll be probably 2 or 3 years down the line.
No,
Me dealing with self-awareness.
no, we'll get it. We'll get it before then.
Yeah, never. But one of my issues
Mm.
of self-awareness that I really learned was an issue with me was forgiving and forgetting.
Forgiveness
Right.
and forgetting.
Yeah, because so quickly we're like, forgive and forget, man. It's done. But is it ever really
Is it
done?
really ever is it forgotten a word?
Yeah,
Because
we can
is
say
it ever
forgotten.
really forgotten?
Is it forgotten? I don't want to sound like...
I know, but I think that we can say I forgive you,
Yeah.
but does it still linger?
Yeah,
in your
how
mind?
often...
How do you overcome?
How
and
do you
forget?
actually forgive somebody? And I think I need this tool because you're someone, you've had a lot of adversity.
You think so?
I think you have, and you ignore it.
Okay, well, because
With your military background,
well, okay.
and not just your military background, but like the way you de-escalate situations
I appreciate
is
that.
pretty great. But how do you forgive? And I'm all about forgiving, right?
Mhm.
I'll say, oh, forgiven, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
But do I
The
ever
the
really
forgetting part.
forget? And I think that's one of the things that I probably, as a more self-aware human being,
Mm-hmm.
and I've talked to family members and stuff in the past about this, just like, how do we do a better job of being better than our own family before us?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
when you see the trials, tribulations, kind of the behaviors that our parents have done with our aunts and uncles and this and that, like, how are we better? How do we be better?
Than our parents.
And that's one thing I'll always say. I think our goal as a community of humans is to be better than the last generation.
Be better, yeah. And I think
I got
that's what
heavy.
we're doing.
Who
That was
thought?
good stuff. And
Who would have thought?
dude, that's perfect for our podcast,
It
right?
was a sip of a daddy beverage.
I love that. Well, keep sipping.
It happens.
Keep sipping on it, man.
No,
'cause
don't say that.
I
Because
will say
that's another self-aware
That is.
issue I probably need to pay attention to. But yes.
No, I think you hit it right there, man. Is we want to be better than our parents. We want to be better
like
than
an
the generation
elixir.
before.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You
Oh
want
no,
it?
thanks, man. I'm good. I appreciate it.
I love it.
But I think so much when we look at our parents and we easily can point out, oh, I don't like this about them, right?
Yeah, we can see
And
flaws very
sometimes
quickly.
we talked about blind spots.
Yeah.
we don't see sometimes how
Give me
close
elixir. I'm gonna come up with
how
something.
close we are to our parents, right? And then we start, oh my gosh, that's exactly what my parents would have
Yeah.
done. And so we want to think about being different,
Yeah.
taking maybe the best of our parents, taking that in and trying to use in our
Yeah.
life. But then we want to think about shun all the things that annoyed us about our parents.
But that's us.
That's yeah.
Doesn't that suck?
That's the how do we
How do we
overcome that?
how do we
Yeah.
overcome that? But one of the big
'Cause
issues,
it's a blind spot
yeah,
most
my
of the
biggest
time.
blind spot.
Now we're getting away from the topic of forgiving and
Forget it.
forget.
Yeah, screw that.
But
Screw that.
how do we take what our parents gave us and become a better version?
Well, both my parents, I hate to be depressing
Mm.
in this note, they just passed away. They
Mhm.
passed away in the last year or so. And I was so thoughtful about the positives, right? Because you're giving eulogies, you're going through that. But what's beautiful, I will say, is being able to discuss the negatives,
Mhm.
not of them as humans, but just like the negatives of kind of what came out of those behaviors that they may have induced. Because I'm going to be honest, like my parents, I just talked to somebody who teaches with me and said they're saints, right? Beautiful, service oriented, like all the things that I am and all the positive things that I try to be as a human being, they are. But then being able to talk to a close family member like my brother, sister, whoever, and being able to distinguish not what they did wrong,
Mm.
but what worked and what didn't.
So do you and your siblings ever have that conversation about
Yeah.
your parents?
Yeah, I've only had it with one of them, and it was beautiful.
Mhm.
Like, and it was like, because we're humans, guys. Like,
Yes, we are.
look at me. Yeah,
Very
we're
human.
going to.
Very human.
I'm very flawed.
Well, we all
And
are. Well,
I love saying really dumb things sometimes for the humor of it.
right?
Right?
Yeah.
But
Did your parents do that?
yes.
Okay.
It makes sense. That's probably one of my biggest flaws, but I love it.
But we talked about this. You know what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
Sometimes you can use your biggest flaws
As
as
your
a strength. Because I also feel like, okay, you may think, why did I say that? That was a dumb thing to say, right?
I say it
All the
every time. Have
But
you noticed?
But that, at the same time, is, I think, one of the things that people love about you.
Oh, yeah.
Because
it's the thing I'll
you're
always
going to be
say.
bold, and you're going to
Mhm.
say sometimes what's on your mind,
Yeah.
even if it might not be appropriate at the time, which is who you are. But
Yeah.
but are those things that you saw in your parents that you wish that you
Yeah.
didn't inherit from them? I don't know, but I will say this, that
No,
I
I
think that's
mean-
one of the things I love about you.
But we have inherited. That's
Mhm.
one of the big things.
Yeah.
Just like psychologically,
Mhm.
we do inherit
We do.
our parents' traits, right?
Yeah.
So, what was funny about meeting you and becoming friends and teaching with you is the fact one of the early things I thought about in the back of my head, I want to meet this guy's parents. Because guess what? They've got those same traits,
Yeah.
probably that I love about you, and they have it as
Mm.
well. And you may not even see it sometimes.
Well, I don't think about it.
Yeah.
But I know.
But
when
the
I think about
irony is, like, we don't think about that. And we do. Like, we need to start seeing that to
Mhm.
enjoy it, I think, a little bit better for those, that actually get to enjoy it while they're alive and living.
While they're alive and living. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's one thing that I know.
Elixir, man.
I know,
Elixir.
right? It really opens up the mind.
It got so heavy. Yeah.
But I will say that
It's
both
daddy
my
beverage,
parents are
by the
still
way.
alive. It's a daddy
Just
beverage.
a daddy beverage.
both of my parents are still alive, and sometimes I feel a little bit guilty because I don't go see them enough.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, I did too when
Mhm.
yeah, and I think that's and some things we can't, and honestly, with between family, friends, work
Yeah.
responsibilities, and I will say this, I think some people have regrets in their lives about that. You know, if their families, or, let's say their parents passed away.
Mm.
But what I say to that is they understand, you know.
Mhm.
That brings up a whole nother
Oh dear,
issue
that's another
about,
whole episode, right?
oh, heaven, yeah,
Oh,
whatever. Oh, I'm not going there for you.
yeah. We won't talk
But
about that.
whatever that case is, they understand, because I even know my family and my parents went through that as
Mm-hmm.
well, where they were maybe stuck at work when they couldn't, drive to visit family and, their parents, or,
Mm-hmm.
like, responsibilities sometimes take a back seat, but then sometimes they don't. Like, it's the here and now.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's delve real quickly into something that a trait that you think you got from your parents that you really appreciate,
Oh, that's cool.
and then one thing that you can remember about your parents that you want to
Shun.
avoid. Yeah,
That
that you
you want to
shun.
shun.
Yeah,
Like, this isn't
you're
Rumspringa.
like
This is
this.
like,
Yeah,
we're
this is
get
something
away
about my
from this.
parents that I don't want to
Oh,
be a part
that's
of my life.
grody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gross.
Like, that's bad.
Gross. Bad news.
Trait.
Yeah.
Okay, you go
Something.
first. You made
Me
that.
for
Yeah,
okay.
you said the question.
Um. Well,
Because I need
the
to
original.
read this.
Okay.
I know you were
Uh.
just trying to find more about me, but.
I think okay. So one trait that I think I got from my parents is both my parents were pretty good at maintaining a level of calmness. Like I never really
Oh,
saw
yeah.
my parents have an extremely bad temper. Neither one of them. Now they argued sometimes, right? But I never
I don't
saw
think it's
things get
bad.
volatile. It's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily. I mean, we're human.
Arguments are not bad,
It's a
yeah.
part of relationships, I think. But I never saw their tempers get out of
Flare.
hand. Yeah, and I feel like that's a positive, something that I
No,
got
it's
from them.
great.
Right?
Yeah, you did
I
really
love
well.
that. I love that. And I think it's for some reason I think that's genetic. It's natural. But at the same time, um, I feel like and my parents oh gosh, how do I say this? They don't like to explore. They don't like to like go out, and which I don't think I inherited this from them,
Yeah.
because I'm totally different when it comes to like wanting to travel and wanting to
Uh-huh.
get out and stay active and
Yeah.
explore and run, and those were not things
But you've
that.
had to earn that. You've had
Mm,
to work at that in your life too.
and there's a part of me that feels like the traveling and stuff like that, or wanting to travel. I feel like it's
Yeah.
natural. Whereas my parents, they never got on an airplane until I, joined the military to
Yeah.
come visit me. But that was never a part of their wanting.
Yeah.
Like I never remember them wanting to go anywhere, and that um, I don't know. They were content with living in the same house their whole
Yeah.
life, same jobs, both of them since they were like 18, their whole life. Um, Everything was just very simple,
Yeah.
but not a lot of exploration. And I feel like, that's not something that I want for myself.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to explore as much of life as possible.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway,
Especially now.
especially now,
Now
especially
that
now.
your kids are a little
I've,
older.
I've done well because I've had so many different opportunities in life,
Yeah,
maybe
you
that my
have.
parents didn't have,
Yeah, it's beautiful to see.
but I made those happen.
Yeah.
Whereas they were content with just staying in their world.
Yeah.
And I wish, I don't know, maybe this is selfish on my part, but now that they've gotten older, I look back and I wish that they had have had more opportunities
Yeah.
and taken them.
You feel,
Hmm.
yeah, you feel like in your heart
Yeah.
there's something to that.
Yeah. Now that my mom, especially, is older, oh man, I wish that she could, and then my dad, I don't
Yeah.
know. I feel like maybe partly one of the reasons she didn't travel and do more
Just because of him.
because
Yeah.
of him. He was pretty
Well,
content.
that's a whole
I don't
nother.
want I didn't. Yeah, their relationship. I think about my kids, Sawyer and Ella, and I don't. Whoever they
Ooh.
decide to
Should
spend
we
their
say
time
their
with.
names?
Oh
We
shoot, I
say,
just
yeah,
did. It's
I
too late.
know.
That's okay. I don't want them to base their life on their significant other.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a partnership if they choose to have a partnership with somebody, but I want them to still have their independence and I want them to have their
Yeah.
own life separate from
From
whoever
your
they
spouse.
choose to. Yeah, and even if they don't get married, even if
No,
they're
I
just their significant other, someone that they want to spend time with, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I feel like my mom was so influenced by my dad's wants,
Yeah.
she didn't get some of her own wants, and
Yeah.
I want my kids to get their wants separately, not necessarily base their what they get out of life on who they choose to spend their life with. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
It's actually beautiful.
I know I spend a lot of time talking.
No, it's needed, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You brought up a really big question, and yeah, I mean, that's just about it. For me, positives, my dad's silly humor and likability.
Yeah, likability.
He's
got
a
that
goofy.
too.
He was a goofy guy, and for my mom, service.
Oh, dude.
She was like, both were in the military. They met in the military. That's why I was actually
conceived.
That's why it happened. Can you believe that? If not for the United States Air Force, I would not have happened. That's what
go
happens.
Air Force.
Yeah, go
for sure.
Yeah, I've got to be a fan.
Yeah, big fan myself.
Yeah, because I wouldn't be alive without him. And then, so it really is combination her service, just tenacity, and his just good-natured humor. Maybe trying to avoid the draft. We're not quite sure. He did enlist. Maybe trying to avoid. Yeah.
He wanted to make sure it was on his terms.
He
Right?
wanted to make sure it was on his terms.
He didn't end up in the Marines.
Smart guy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite end, negativities, planning, order, and I know, but this is what I've learned. The things that drove me crazy after they passed away were the things I knew they were trying to do. Like, they were trying to plan, or one of them was, they were trying to create order in the chaos of everything. So you sense them trying to, and it, like, before they, and I will say, it goes back to forgive and forget. That's the whole reason for this. I'm just, the willingness to kind of forget, I think, is a highly cultural, for my sake, forgetting about past ills and, really asking for help sometimes. And that was a problem with my family. Like, we didn't like asking for help. We wanted to help, but not ask for help.
Asking for
and
help.
That's a whole nother.
That's another whole episode of asking for help. Oh, episode 6?
That will be episode 6.
That's a good
possibly.
One. I think
if it happens,
that's a good.
We may retire after then.
That's a good.
But
one.
Anyway, finding balance with
Facey
and Coley.
Let me hit the button.
You hit the button this time. Look at that beautiful face.